Hi guys, it's Mew2King, and I can't help but notice that Zero just made a video today called The Truth About Mew2King. So, well, that's me. So I'm obviously curious to what this is going to be, so now I'm going to watch it for the first time. I have not watched this yet, so this will actually be my first time watching it. So I figured, why not record it?
A lot of you guys will probably assume that Mew2King has no game, that Mew2King gets no girl because he's nerdy and he's a gamer. Mew2King gets a lot of honeys. Why do I say this? Because I've been to hundreds of tournaments with this man, and the amount of women that just come up to him, hit on him, is actually unbelievable.
He used an Amber picture.
So Mew2King is one of the most well-known and most famous Smash players of all time. Not only has he been the best player in the world in multiple titles, but he's also one of the most well-versed in all of them. He's a timeless player, and since the beginning of Smash Bros. In a competitive manner, he's been around winning tournaments. Now, for those of you guys that frequent the channel, you already know that we are pretty much best friends. However, Mew2King is not your everyday professional gamer. In fact, he's one of the biggest nutcases, one of the most insane people I've had the opportunity to meet. Now, the Smash Bros. Documentary covered a lot of the story around him, but I have a lot of details that pretty much no one knows because I've known the guy for quite a while, and I also have a lot of my own personal stories to share that I certainly want to share with you guys.
That's how he makes his living. Just go around to these tournaments, wins, doesn't have a job, doesn't go to school.
Doesn't have a job.
Okay.
Goes to tournaments.
I couldn't get a job. I'll elaborate more in my book. And I did go to school. I went to high school. Then I went to college. But then I kept taking off during summers because there was just too many turns in summers, and I was so good at both Smash games that I didn't want to take off during summer because I wanted to not only make money and make a living, but I wanted to show that I was keep like my legacy going and show that I was the best in the world. So I didn't want to keep taking off summers. So I never went to college in any summer season.
Play games. So this is actually from MLG 2010 at DC's, which was one of the most famous tournaments in Brawl and in the middle of the MLG Pro circuit for Brawl. At the time, Mew2King was actually winning every single tournament, and this is an interview that they did to kind of give context to people that didn't know him. He was actually making a living winning Smash Bros. Tournaments, which at the time was actually unheard of. Mew2King did not have a job and did not continue his studies because he wanted to focus on the whole, esports and Smash. But he actually...
It's not just that I didn't want to continue my studies. It's that I didn't really have great passion for anything I was doing in school. Like I tried programming and I tried 3D modeling and a bunch of other stuff in school, and I never just had passion for any of that stuff. I wanted to do just the creative side of like making 2D games, but I didn't like the other stuff. Like people have told me that I might like programming and stuff, but so I tried it for years, and I tried to make myself like it because I'm supposed to like it. Everyone else is saying I'm supposed to like it. But I ended up not liking that stuff, and so I was losing passion and motivation in school because I didn't actually like the stuff. So that, comparatively speaking, gave me more motivation for Smash. There was a several-year time span that I was like soul-searching, deciding what I wanted to do in my life. That's basically the short version. My book will give you the longer version when it eventually comes out, but that's basically the short version.
Starts losing confidence. He's not a very confident person in general. So when he's facing adversity, sometimes he may just shut down and just give up.
He's
interesting.
That picture. Wait. So I was in Australia once. I forget if it's either 2010, 2011, or 2012. It's one of those 3 years. I was in Australia, and I just thought somebody was wearing that hat. So I thought it'd be funny, so I just wore the hat the rest of the tournament because I thought it was funny. Lol.
Do you think you can make a quick announcement before? I need you.
My controller's gone at Apex 2010. So I wanted to make an announcement.
Looking for a controller is because Mew2King is extremely particular about his controllers to the point where he's actually the master of controllers, and I'm pretty sure he's one of the people that has the most amount of controllers of all time. Melee is also one of the pickiest games when it comes down to choosing your controller. Certain controllers are just less competitively viable at the top level, which is where he plays. And also when he will find controllers that he will enjoy, he will put them in like a pouch, kind of like a travel bag, and he will like pretty much roll it out at tournaments, and he will have 20 controllers at a time where he will...
So I just made a controller video like a few months ago about my controller collection. Basically, I've been purchasing controllers either from the internet or from people over the past like 15 years of my life, a little here, a little there. However, most of this was for something that we call vanilla melee, which means you need something called vanilla melee dashback, which is actually bad for UCF melee. So basically what I'm saying is I was investing in long-term melee, assuming that we'd always have these controller issues with dashback and stuff. What ended up happening is UCF became the standard, so almost all my controllers are actually useless now. So I'm still in the. I'm still. It's kind of ironic because I'm still in the struggle of like having the best thing because these are all everything I purchased was based around vanilla Melee, which is not optimal for UCF. Just ironic how that worked out. But there was no way I could have known that Melee would get as big as it did nowadays, last as long as it did, and use a hacked version of the game as the standard. So there's no way I could have known that like 10 years ago, for example. So can't really regret my decisions because hindsight is 2020. There's no way I could have known.
All right.
A bit weird, but
Oh yeah.
like,
Oh, I walked out. So.
All right.
So this is like my personality in real life. It's kind of funny because I didn't actually notice it was ever going to go on YouTube. I'm just like a silly person in general. Like look at the way I'm going out.
All right.
It's like I was doing it on purpose because I was like, okay, I'm like a cartoon character making my exit. Like ever watch Looney Tunes when they like exit stays left or something, and they're like walking like this. Yeah, I just thought that'd be funny. I didn't know it was gonna be like recorded and put on YouTube. That's just how I am like my whole life basically. I'm always doing stuff like that. It's just that.
You just don't understand how you can possibly beat this guy.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
MVG can have some type of beat.
Unless you're frame perfect 99 out of 100 times,
You're not good enough.
That's my mindset.
That's what I tell myself.
I agree with this. One day, I randomly messaged MVG on Facebook. Hey, my name is Zero. I watch your videos all the time. I'm always impressed by what you're doing.
For context, he messaged me when I moved to Georgia in early 2011. I think March 2011 was the first time he ever messaged me.
Best player in my country. I would love to, talk with you and, talk some theory. And, if you gave me the time of day, I would really appreciate that. And then lo and behold, the next morning I wake up and I look at my messages and I see that MVG actually responded to me. And ever since then, we just talked every day for years to come. And then we became best friends. We lived together. And when
Okay, that's a huge. We did not talk every day. Like we talked a lot, and he's in my top 5 of most talked to people on Facebook, alongside Fiction and a few other people. But like, I think it's like Fiction, Armada, Zero, and like maybe like 2 others. I forget. But every day, that's an exaggeration. That part's an exaggeration.
Talked to him and asked him about him. He said that the reason he gave me the time of day is because he could tell that I was very passionate about what I was doing and what I wanted to do, and that he could tell that I was going to be amazing because I care more than most people. I truly think that there is not a single better training partner than MVG.
Try to be as perfect as possible. And if there's
So basically, I try to learn the right way because I care about the long-term investment. Like, if you know the facts, like, knowing the facts helps. Like, let's say, oh, this move is factually much less or much more range than you thought, or just like hitboxes or just whatever. But keep in mind, back in the day, there was no hitboxes for Melee. There was no hitboxes for Brawl. Back in those times, you had to figure it out yourself by playing the game a lot. You couldn't just look up and be like, hey, here's the red circle. Now it's public knowledge what the hitboxes look like. No, that didn't exist. You had to play the game a lot in Melee. You had to play the game a lot in Brawl and just figure it out from just playing and feel, which means experience and experimentation was really good if you wanted to learn the game to the highest possible level. So I tried to teach myself through many, like hundreds of hours, like just experimenting all these different scenarios till I just figured out myself, like, okay, this is best in this situation. This is why this works or doesn't. In my opinion, that's the best long-term investment. I wasn't there for the short-term investment. I was there for the long-term investment. A lot of the stuff I did for my stat list, I'd say like 99% of it's not really important. I just did it to share to the community. And like it's like a bunch of reasons. One, I actually wanted to just be, one of them is actually that I just wanted to be famous. I wanted to be known for something. I didn't want to be just some guy, like I wasn't known for anything. I was just some kid in my room who just wanted to be a somebody. So I figured one of the things I could do is like, okay, it's nice to help people, so I did it to help people for one. But it's also like I wanted to be famous. I actually just like, okay, I want to be famous, so I'll share all this stuff. And I also was curious. So I was curious to all the facts. I think there's like a 4th reason too. I don't remember off the top of my head. But there was like, I had a lot of different motivations. Like I just wanted to know the facts, so I tested it. I was curious. I thought it'd be good for the long-term investment. But I was also like, I wanted to help other people, and I wanted everyone to be like I wanted to be known for something, but I wanted them to like acknowledge me and be like, wow, thank you, MVG, for sharing all this. Wow, you're so great, and like all that. But at the same time, I also didn't want to lie about any of the stuff I did either. So I spent a lot of time rechecking stuff, and I did it through really complex pause stuff, which I actually made a video on. Like, if you look on like, I mean, I'm sure I've explained it by now. I'm gonna go actually in super detail in my book, but when it comes out, probably in like less than a year from now. But if you look up, if you want to see like some of the advanced stuff I do, just type in falling speed test on YouTube. It's one of my videos I released, I think, in like year 2017. It's like advanced frame testing, falling speed test. That's one of the more advanced stuff. But other than that, I've explained it in like Hot Ones and other videos where I just like pause the game and press a button at the same time to find frame data. That's a whole different topic. But basically the short version is most of the stuff there I talk about isn't really that important. I just had like those other 4 types of motivations in addition to that. It wasn't really to benefit myself because I could have been using that to practice other stuff. I was like, okay, I'm a kid in my room. I have no friends for years, so I want to do something productive for it. So that was the like younger Jason Zimmerman mindset. Pretty much just giving to the community in addition to the other 3 or 4 motivations I just mentioned.
Get it.
What most people don't know is that Mew2King actually didn't just make a Bible, because he wrote like a couple thousand pages long of frame data and technical advice on Melee. You can actually
it's definitely not a couple thousand pages. It might be like 100 pages. It might be like 100 pages more or less. I don't know. It's definitely not a couple thousand pages.
Originally, what Mew2King wanted to do is that he wanted to be a game designer, but then he realized that wasn't what he thought it was going to be, so he decided to go more the pro gamer route.
I beat Super Mario Bros. Original on any.
For what he said, it's more that I just didn't like what I was doing in college. If I had the opportunity when I was young, if let's say 20-year-old or teenage M2K had the opportunity to like, oh, hey M2K, I'm making the next Mega Man or Mario game, and I want you to just do the creative level design and just design the game out for me, and I'll program it. Like if it was something like that, I would have jumped on that like right away, and then I would have had fun doing that forever. But I never had those type of opportunities at the time periods that I was the most passionate about it. Which is stuff I like studied like level design theory on my own. So, but that was a long time ago, and I never got the opportunities when I cared about that most. So I ended up just going the pro gamer route.
Yes, I beat it when I was 5. I made tons of like pixel art and stuff back then. It's just something I started once. So it's like I'm gonna make a big maze, and literally 90% of it I do line by line, pixel by pixel.
I was bored, so I wanted to create something. Again, this is another example. This is another example where I started Mega Maze up here, and I was just doing something, and I was like, and then I made the document even bigger because I was like, wait, I'm already making this big maze. Let's make it bigger. And if you notice right here, it says Jason rules. I mean, sure, you see words like this, but I did his hidden messages. Jason rules. I think I had some other hidden messages too. I don't remember them all.
This is King Jason Sheldon Zimmerman is cool. Not only is that a very typical thing for him to do, but also his middle name is Sheldon, which he doesn't like to be called.
No, I don't care.
I know that. That's actually true. If you see him in person, just ask him up front, like, hey, how many numbers of pi can you recite? And he'll go forever. I think he...
No, don't. People have spammed that. I'm not doing anymore. Go away. I'm not doing that anymore.
A couple hundred of them. Jason,
it's not a couple hundred. I memorized 82.
I think he memorized a couple hundred of them. Jason, could you recite the pi number?
3.1415965358479333384971693934964062864898
Okay, got it right.
I only do. I had to stop myself in middle school because I realized I keep going forever, and that'd be a waste of life, so I stopped.
Yeah.
One time I lost my jacket at a tournament.
Oh yeah, dude. I used to. I used to sit like this all the time. Like sometimes I'd be like, okay, I'm cold, or either I'm cold or I want to sleep. This is how I slept. Like I would literally I'd be playing Smash with my friends, and I'd be playing Melee with my friends or something, and then I'm like, well, I'm tired, but I'm at this guy's house. I don't have a bed, so I'm really tired because I'm always on a weird sleep schedule. So I'm like, well, time to go to bed, and I just go to bed right there. And I did stuff like that all the time. Like I literally just sleep anywhere at any time when I'm tired. I need to sleep.
Around 2014, we decided to go to a Melee tournament. Now, on the way back from the tournament, there was not enough space in the carpool where we had to go because we were living at the same place. So I remember Mew2King jokingly said that he will ride the trunk if someone paid him a little bit of money. So the money was provided, and then Mew2King rode in the back of the trunk. And he didn't see that as a problem. In his mind, it was, well, I made $10, so that's a win.
It was not even a long trip.
A very old Zero video. Look at this. December 23, 2012. Mew2King camping IRL.
Hey, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Hide from Shiva.
Okay, do it.
This is the baby area at a Target.
Shut up. It makes it sound so much worse.
We actually have talked about repeating this antic because it's just a classic. One time we were in a car together and we made a joke about like, just get out of the car. And he opened the door and tried to leave while we were driving. I mean, I think he would have done it if we hadn't pulled him back in. He's a
No, that I actually debunked this before. I was in a car ride with PC Chris and wife and some others, and they said, go out of the car. So I was just trolling them by pretending to do it. I wasn't actually gonna do anything. I was actually just trolling them, and wife took it literally, and the wife and PC took it literally.
Probably what he did is that he wanted to make it seem like he was gonna jump out the car because that, is the joke.
Yeah.
They probably fell for it because they don't know him as well.
Yeah.
And one thing he does very often is that he'll pretend to not know certain things for the joke because he knows that people expect certain behavior out of him. He knows he can get away with certain things.
No,
I mean,
it's
we
even
went to
it's
a
actually even more simple than that. I just thought tee, haha, and then that's it. I wasn't even thinking of it in like an advanced way. I'm like, haha, got him, GG, just for fun. Literally, just for a quick haha, just for no reason whatsoever, just cause ha.
So you walked into like a gas station and just took like a Mountain Dew and left?
No,
Yeah,
I was just zoning out. I literally just forgot. I literally just zoned out. I was just like, I grabbed it. I'm like, and then I was walking around to find other stuff, and then I just forgot I didn't pay. I literally just like zoned out and just forgot. And then I realized it after. I was like, oh, whoops. What PC's saying isn't accurate. It was just a random oops.
Nonetheless,
That's
if he
actually
ever comes
accurate.
over to your house for whatever reason, do not give him food.
What?
Do not feed the meat.
What is this? What is this? What is this music?
He's just kind of wandering off, thinking about something else. Nonetheless, if he ever comes over to your house for whatever reason, do not give him food.
What is this? I'm so mad.
Nonetheless, if he ever comes over to your house for whatever reason, do not give him food.
The
Do
music.
not feed the MVG at your
The
house.
MVG?
Zero. Why would I do that? That is rude to a guest in your house. Normally, I will agree. However, you must not feed him because MVG, the moment you give him access to your kitchen, your pantry, or your fridge, he will immediately assume that everything within your kitchen is fair game. The moment you give him one cookie, I've had this happen many times where I will offer him a snack and he will end up taking ham out of my fridge, taking bread, taking whatever was
Vanessa
left
said
over,
I could.
just eat it and not ask you. And once you confront him, he'll just say, but you gave me permission. His theorizing is so good that he managed to keep up and become the best player in the world off of theorizing in his living room.
It was, I think Melee FC's 3.
Yeah, basically, it had nothing to do with like, oh, I'm not smart or I'm a robot or whatever. It's more that I didn't have the luxury of fighting people. So I had to start off with a huge handicap relative to other pros. I managed to catch up really fast just by theorizing and being so good at everything else. But I had a huge disadvantage compared to them in the fact that I didn't get to play anybody. Almost all of my skill, the vast majority of it, up until at least the middle of 2006, like anything before the middle of 2006, pretty much I was just playing alone for almost all the time. So I pretty much just got good by being a tryhard. But then I started to finally get experience. Like I started to get to play with Cactuar, for example, and a few other people around me. And then the moment I started getting to fight another person who was just like another, like, let's say top 20 in the world player or something, I was like, oh my god, I'm getting so much exponentially better so easily and so much faster. And then I just dominated the year 2007 and whatnot. And then it was just so much easier, like from that moment onward. I just basically didn't start for luxury. Honestly, I think anyone would struggle if they were in the same environment where you just live in the middle of nowhere and you have access to nobody to play. So I think the whole robot thing and like my perceived intelligence back then was actually like kind of like underrated because the whole story wasn't really told accurately in a way.
3 or 6, we actually found Mew2King 3 in the morning. He was still holding on to his controller, sleeping with it, and he was actually pressing the R and L buttons. Like
I said this in Hot Ones video, but that was a troll.
We couldn't believe. We thought we like poked him. He didn't wake up.
So I said this in a Hot Ones video, but some people still don't believe me. But it's another instance of it's like I'm just playing a prank with my friends just for like haha, like just for no reason, just because I think it's funny. I never knew it was gonna be on YouTube and be a big video 10 years later. I was just like, let me prank my friend real quick. Got him. Like I was like laying down and I saw chilling. Like like when you can trick people to think your eyes are closed, but like you can actually see barely through your eyelashes to tell that there's like a shadow there, so you can tell they're there, and you can also hear them talking. So I had my controller in my hand. I was just protecting my controller because back then I didn't have a bag, so I would protect my controller by just holding on to it. So what I would do is I would be sleeping with my controller, and then eventually I wake up, maybe on my own or maybe because I heard Chillin or something. It was around when I was waking up and I heard him, and I was like, I barely opened my eye, but I was like, and then I realized Chillin thought I was sleeping, so I pretended to play Smash, and I purposely clicked the R button with my finger just to trick him. I don't remember if I knew he was recording me at like 50-50. I was just trying to play a prank on friends just because why not? It's funny.
But this one is 100% BS. Why? Because he told me.
They all said I suck.
Why?
100% BS.
Because he told me.
Why? Because he told me.
I don't even
They all
remember
said I
telling
suck.
Zero, but I
And
probably
I was like,
told him
well,
everything at some point.
BS. Why? Because he told me.
They all said I suck.
A lot of you guys will probably assume that Mew2King has no game. That Mew2King gets no girl because he's he's nerdy and he's a gamer. Mew2King gets a lot of honeys. Why do I say this? Because I've been to hundreds of tournaments with this man, and the amount of women that just come up to him, hit on him, is actually unbelievable. I can count at least 20 to 30 different women, and it will change the perspective that pretty much all
Okay,
of you
he's
guys
exaggerating
have.
by
It
a
is
lot.
Insane. Now, the best part about that is that I've seen Mew2King flat out deny some of these girls.
I'm like proof that a nobody can become.
I have no comment, but he's exaggerating.
That Mew2King's story has always been, and his message has always been about the fact that he was a nobody. And within the span of a year or two, he was at the top of the world in the Smash Bros. Scene.
Not only a nobody, but a nobody with no resources. That lived in the middle of nowhere with all the odds stacked against you. That's a more accurate representation. Because it's not just, okay, I'm just some guy. It's more like I'm some guy that lives in the middle of nowhere where all the odds are stacked against me for multiple different reasons. I think the number one is because I just live in the middle of nowhere, but there's other reasons too. But yeah, I think that combination, like, is the even like stronger and more accurate and powerful.
A lot of people pretty much quit from the Melee top players when Brawl came out because Brawl and Melee are completely different. To the point where I think if you were to say if a Smash player can play Smash, they can play all of them. I disagree. Some of the Smash games are so different that if you're good at Melee, you probably will be worse than a starting player at Brawl because they play so differently that every single muscle memory thing you have about Melee does not correlate to how you play in Brawl, which is why I think it was so impressive for Mew2King to be the best in the world at both of these games. I remember when I was trying to do this whole playing Brawl, Melee, and Project M at the same time, which is how we made the most money because you were
both doing that.
And in all these tournaments at once. Like imagine switching from playing a top 10 Melee player in the world to then right off the bat get off.
I guided Zero through that journey basically. Like I was doing like, okay, top at Melee, top at Brawl, and then Zero messages me like 3 years after Brawl comes out. So Brawl came out early 08, and Zero messaged me early 2011. So it was like exactly 3 years later. And then he came to USA like over half a year after, like just before Apex 2012. But then I taught him how to be better at Fox and Melee, and that also helped him to be good at Fox in Project M because it's like the same Fox. And so it basically doubled down for that. And then I originally told him, hey, pick up Pit. I think Pit's really good. You should pick up Pit. And he picked up Pit, and he started doing really well for Pit Fox co-main. And obviously, you all know that it helped Midnight. So like, I was also traveling with him and like trying to help him be successful and stuff because that was pretty much the whole lifestyle back then. We didn't know YouTube, Twitch, or anything. It was just tournaments, ride or die. You win or you lose, and that's how you can make a living. That's all we knew.
Melee, go play Brawl against a top 5 player. No warm-ups, no pauses. Just
no warm-up is
smash,
huge,
like that.
dude.
That
No warm-up. That's the
10
hardest part. Like going at Apex 2014, for example, I had to do Melee and Brawl and Project M. Like everyone else was just doing their one game. Like Mango Left and PP were just doing Melee. Armada was just doing Project M. Zero and Nairo and a bunch of other people were just doing Brawl. Everyone was just doing their one game. Like one game. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do all three. I'm gonna try to win all three. I didn't, but I got second, and fourth. While with having to get like no warm up at all in all three, I just like, okay, now you're done your Melee set. Go to Brawl and now go to Project M and now go back to Melee and just like this all at the same time. It's like everyone else is warming up one game. It's actually harder than you'd expect. To like, because if you're just playing slightly off, you get comboed to death. Like, oh, I'm not playing 100% Melee. Well, guess what? You lost neutral, and now you got comboed to death. It's like, well, cool, like stuff like that. But I don't know. I think it's pretty good. But that's also how it made my lifestyle. It was also like I wasn't sure what game I was the best at because at the end of 2013, because this is right after like Return of the King, by December 2013, I had an argument for being number one at possibly all three games. So part of the reason for Apex 2014, I entered all the games at like Apex 2014 and Paragon 2015 1 year later, was because I was like, okay, I'm potential best in the world at Brawl, I'm potential best in the world at Melee, and a potential best in the world at Project M. There's no official rankings or anything, but based on my current record plus people I beat, it's all like argue for first. So I'm like, okay, what am I best at? I don't know. So I guess I'm just gonna enter all three. That's my logic.
Play in the world. to then right off the bat get off melee, go play brawl against a top 5 player, no warm-ups, no pauses, just match like that. That's how we made 11. MVG was better than I was at doing this, and it was so impressive because he will require no warm-up, completely switch up the mode, and play amazing first try. And that
Okay, so to be more accurate, this is gonna sound bad, but I beat people while playing bad. I was basically like, this is my playing good, and this is my playing bad. But then most people are here even when they're playing good. So my bad was still better than their good. So it was still enough to win. That's actually more accurate, if I'm being totally honest.
So much of MVG's identity came from being a god at the game. So on comes Mango, his kryptonite, and when Mango beat him in those awful, horrendous, embarrassing Jigglypuff dittos, I think it changed him forever. At least in a Smash way, if not in a real world kind of way. MVG's not able to beat Mango anymore. It's like something broke in his brain, and he forever has a mind block where he can't beat him, and it's a shame. And
okay, to be more accurate, right when Brawl came, right after that tournament, Brawl came out like a week later, and so I just focused on Brawl for the next 5 years or 4 years and 11 months, more accurately. So close to 5 years where Brawl was my main game and Melee wasn't. The whole Return of the King that started in 2013 started right after I switched focus. Like before, it was like Brawl #1, Melee #2, from like early 08 to early 2013, and then I swapped it because I got EVO. Was a big factor that I helped get Melee into EVO 2013. So instead of Brawl Melee, it swapped. And then the moment I swapped it, I was able to start taking a good number of sets. I beat PPMD, Hungrybox, Mango, Armada, like all within like the same several month time span. So I think that's actually the bigger factor, that it just wasn't my main game. Like Melee just wasn't because my logic was, okay, Melee's the older game, but I'm already good at it. So why quit? Like, why quit Melee when I'm already so good at it, right? So that doesn't make sense. But Brawl's a new game, and it was currently getting more entrants at most tournaments. So it's a new game, and it's getting more entrants at most turns. I thought it was the bigger growth product and the bigger thing to focus on. It was more money, more entrants, etc. Who knew Melee would like get so big in 2013? But I mean, I noticed it was probably gonna because the Evo, the game got into Evo, so I started focusing on it starting February 1st, 2013 and onwards. And then coincidentally, the Smash documentary came out like half a year later after that, around the same time as I won Big House 3, coincidentally. But yeah, that's the reason that it was like Brawl #1, Melee #2, and then you swap. I actually think that's the #1 reason. I think it's less what Life is saying and more that Melee just wasn't my focus anymore. Everyone else is focused on just Melee. I was like, okay, I'm going to make my lifestyle Smash, but I'm going to really focus on getting better at Brawl, more so than anything else.
He doesn't like being cheered against. He doesn't like not understanding what's going on.
Well, being cheered against is just, I actually think this is part of having Asperger's, but basically, just a guess. It's really hard for me to focus when people are yelling and talking and like saying rude things or just loud noises in general. In addition to that, it's just incredibly distracting, more so for me than the average person. So recently, over the past few years, I've had noise canceling headphones, and then I've been doing pretty good, like 16, 17, 18, of course. Like, I won Summit 6, almost won Smash Con stuff. Like, having these noise-canceling headphones gave me an advantage that I didn't have in the past, allowing me to play the way I normally play. Back then, I was usually fine in friendlies where people weren't yelling, but for many years, actually most of my career so far, I've had people just yelling to try to distract me and make me lose because they know they can do it. And then, like, instead of, like, I told people, like, stop doing it, but, like, that, instead of encouraging them to not do it anymore, they did the opposite because they wanted to make sure I lost, because they only cared about their friend winning. It was usually someone, especially when I'm traveling to other regions most of the time, I'm usually like the enemy in their eyes. So they did that. Very many people did that on purpose for many, many years. I actually think that's like the #1 thing. I just couldn't focus because just distractions. And then when noise canceling headphones came in like 10 years later, I started like, oh, well, now it's a lot easier to play. I think that's a big factor that, in my opinion.
I think there was a point in time in MVG's career where he really hated going to tournaments because a lot of people saw him as the enemy. And it is the concept when you become the best player, you become excellent, and then you have someone else that can challenge the spot. And for MVG, who at the time, through the years, he was the person that people wanted to win.
It's not just challenge the spot. It's challenge the spot, but they're always cheered against, and you're always cheered against, no matter what. Whether I'm winning or losing at any point in time, it's almost always like 90-10 that I'm the one cheered against. Like, again, it's not just against Mango. It's like a wide variety of people, like more than I felt it should have been. That whole thing, the combination of all that, over and over and over was discouraging.
I think one of the most turning points you can see is actually MVG fighting Ocean at Apex 2012. Now, the important thing here is that you have the best American player, MVG, against one of the best Japanese players at an American tournament. Now, you might expect the American crowd to be cheering for MVG, but they actually were not. The entire crowd was actually cheering against him. I'm actually behind Otori right here, but it was so loud that the entire venue, you could hear it. You could actually be outside the venue and you can hear people yelling. It was
Dude, I couldn't even hear the game.
It doesn't matter if you were.
I remember that set. I couldn't even hear the game.
And the screen will rumble and the table will rumble, and it was so distracting to play with that environment. And I think after this set is when he really lost a lot of that connection that he had with the game, and a big part of it was
I just had no motivation.
He was seen as the public enemy, and I don't think anyone likes to be there.
So basically, this wasn't the first time people would cheer against me. At Apex 2010, if you notice, this is a good example. Apex 2010, look up Mew2King versus Brood Game 1 at Apex 2010. That whole game, I was fighting the Japanese player, right? Brood. Game 1, I 3-stock him at like low-mid percentage because I'm like, I'm in my zone. I'm playing literally my 100% potential in Game 1 because I'm motivated. The crowd's cheering for me. I was like everything was going for me on an emotional level and like mental level. They were cheering for me on Game 1, Mew2King versus Brood, Game 1. Then he makes a very close comeback on Game 2, and then Game 2, 3, 4, and 5 are just a bunch of last hit games basically. But the short version is they started cheering against me, and then I think a combination of made my opponent play better and made me play worse at the same time. And then in addition to that, I was like kind of angry because Apex 2010 was a New Jersey tournament. All the Apexes were New Jersey tournaments. I'm from New Jersey, so you would expect it to be the opposite. And then that happened again against Ocean, and after that, I felt like I was so done with Smash for like a while because I was like, okay, well, I mean, the next Apex I ended up like beating like Nitono, Rain, Otori, and like all these people like Apexes and other turns and stuff. But at that time, this is before then, like it was so discouraging that I was like, okay, like I don't know why my own state's cheering against me. I'm not even like a bad person. I'm like a good person. Like I help people. Like my only crime is winning. Like literally, like I felt like literally my only crime was winning too much, and that makes me the enemy. But if other people win a lot, like if Mango wins a lot, for example, he's God and praised. But if why don't I get the same treatment? Like I'm nice to people. I'm a good person. I've lived a good life. Like I don't understand it. And even to this day, the logic still doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, that was very discouraging, and I've had to deal with that like pretty much my entire career. It's one of the reasons I'm not as active right now.
The only people in the crowd who were cheering for MVG, it was me
and Ally,
and it was Ally. We were the only people. He's.
I haven't even watched this video yet. It's just that Zero was there, so I remember it. It was only Zero and Ally. That's it.
And for me, I've always been a big MVG fan. To this day, I still am a big MVG fan. The reason why I'm a fan of him is not just because he's one of my best friends, but because he may not be the best person in social aspects, but he's generally a hearted good person. The amount of times that he's gone out of his way to help me become good.
That's actually extremely accurate, without joking. I actually believe I've lived like how do I put this? Like a better than average life. Like I've overall lived a good person, like in total, on average. I go out of my way to help people a lot. It's just most people don't know about that because it's usually like a one-on-one conversation where I'm like, hey, so-and-so person, I'll pay your flight if you just promise to pay me back later when you can. By the way, I've only gotten paid back like 30% of the time at most. The other 70%, they just took the money and ran. I could expose those people, but I don't really want to do that because that's like not a nice thing to do. But that's just like one example. Like I've always like helped people in whether it's financially or advice or just whatever, like literally just whatever. A lot of people just don't know about it because it's not like public knowledge, and that's pretty much the short version.
Good at Smash. The amount of times that he went out of his way to practice with me or help me beat certain people in tournament. The amount of times that he would just make it his mission to just help someone else that a lot of time they may not have returned the favor whatsoever, and he never really
that's very accurate.
Square it away are enormous. He's the kind of person
extremely
that
accurate.
Believes that you should be a good person because that's what you're supposed to do. A lot of people that I know
do
not
very
follow
simple.
that principle whatsoever, and it actually broke my heart during these periods where I had to see him suffer through these tournaments because he wasn't really able to do anything else. He put all his eggs in the basket of being good at Smash. Once you're stuck in this, you're not able to walk away from it. it broke him as a person. It broke my heart because more often than not, I was the only person in the venue who wanted him to win. And I think for me, this is one of the hardest things to ever watch, because I remember after this, he was in depression for a very long time. It took him years to recover from this scenario, and it's not something that he really likes to talk about, which is why it makes me happy now that he can make content, he can do all the things, and he doesn't have to be in this environment nearly as much. It's more of a choice for him rather than being forced to it.
When he started hanging out with us, you know, we actually got him to drink, and I don't know, we just talked, just to hang out, not play Smash, not talk about Smash. I'm over it.
So rule number 2 about Mew2King, you will not give him alcohol. So we have rule number 1, do
No,
not give him
no,
food in your house.
no, don't listen, guys. Just you should stop the video at just a few seconds before this part and just don't watch the rest. But I'm gonna watch the rest anyway.
Feed the Mew2King. Rule number 2, do not give the Mew2King alcohol.
The Mew2King? The Mew2King.
Why? Because his personality goes from a little bit notch to all the way dialed in with alcohol. Now let me tell you the most insane story I ever had. We went to a tournament in Mexico, and he decided to drink after the event ended. Now the tournament was being hosted.
Oh, I'm writing about this.
The guy
This is
running
my
the
book.
tournament was a millionaire, pretty much. Now Mew2King, extremely drunk, was on top of the stairs. Now in his drunken state, he decided to walk the rail on top of the stairs and then jump down. He landed on his head, and it looked like he died. There's a crowd of 100 people looking down at the Mew2King on the.
That's not true. I didn't land on my head. So I literally just stomped on the ground, like. I was just doing a big jump because I look at me, and I did a big jump from the top of the staircase to the bottom when there's the ground. But the floor was so weak, that was the weakest. Imagine you just jump up and down, and then you land on the floor, and you think the floor is supposed to hold you. That didn't happen. The floor collapsed under me, and I ended up having to pay for the repairs for that. I never have experienced something like that. I didn't even know a floor could collapse off a lightweight body like myself. That was so that was one of the most surprising moments I've ever had. Imagine you just jump up and down, and you're okay, the floor is invincible. You just think the floor is invincible all the time your whole life. That's how I thought it. Okay, it's a floor. It's supposed to be invincible. And then the floor just collapsed under me, and I fell like a extra 2 feet down or something. And I was like, what? I did not land on my head. Well, I might have fell over after that, but I was jumping to land on my feet. I might have fell over after that.
Keep in mind, I'm the only person there who can speak fluent English. So I'm talking to him, I'm shaking him. He's on the ground. Looks like he's dead, completely dead. I'm freaking out. My heart's racing. I think he died. I legitimately think this is it. He died because he was drunk and jumped at a Smash tournament. And then I'm shaking him, and then he starts making noises of pain. So we're thinking about taking him to the hospital. Suddenly he props up, says, I'm fine, and goes in his own way. I do not know if he sustained injuries from that. I told him, let's go to the hospital 20 times, and he pretty much refused me, and I can't force him to go to the hospital. At that point in time, I realized you are banned from having alcohol. And in no way ever I am giving you any type of alcohol because you do not know how to control yourself. And there's actually a lot of stories of him drinking at certain parties and then just jumping down from the second floor or windows or things like that. I think one of the stories that he told me is that in one of his drunken adventures, he jumped down from the second or third floor from an apartment out into the backyard.
Only when I know I won't get hurt.
Out in the air, and the next thing he went out into the.
Look, I'm not stupid. I know the human limitations usually.
Adventures, he jumped down from the second or third floor from an apartment out into the backyard. All he remembers is just seeing out in the air, and the next thing he knows, he's just down in the ground. So now you know rule number 2.
We can play anywhere. Yeah, but against
I said that's a good point.
They're so silly, dude. This picture is from him fighting Otori in one of the finals at Apex. I think it was Losers Finals. Mew2King is down 2 games. The crowd is cheering against him. And I looked at Mew2King and I'm like, bro, you can beat him. You know you're better than him. Screw the crowd. Screw everyone else. Play your game, focus, and you will beat him. He proceeds to win the next 3 games. And I remember I popped off and I hugged him. Dude, I was like, he's hyping. I was so hyped. And I remember I was just so hyped because I was like, he believed in himself for once. He did not let everyone else dictate what he was going to do, and he was able to succeed and get into the finals. And I think that's one of the highest points in our friendship. And I'm always been happy that I've been able to be there for him in important moments the same way he's been there for me. Nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Guys, do make sure to subscribe to Mew2King's channel. I link his channel down below. Do support his content creation career. He's trying really hard to succeed as a content creator, and it will make me very happy if you guys could support him the same way he supported me.
Yes, do that. Click subscribe and hit the bell. This channel, MVG Week, youtube.com/TheRealMew2King. And if you like my content on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mew2King. Give me a follow, and if you like my content, please consider subscribing or Twitch priming or donating. Any of that would be much appreciated. I have an excuse to say this because he started it.